Hello and welcome to Insights in Action with Orange 142, where we interview agency leaders and business owners to uncover the journeys, the strategies, and the insights that drive their success. At Orange 142, we're all about transforming brand stories into impactful digital experiences through innovative media and marketing solutions. And today I'm very lucky to be joined by Jim of CI Design Incorporated. How's it going, Jim?
It's going so good, Shiv. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on. And Jim, I would love to just start this off by learning a little bit more about your background and a little bit more about CI design.
Yeah, you bet. Shiv, I started CI design in the mid 90s. And honestly, so that's going to date me, right? No problem. I was 25 years old and I had a partner and a small group of employees that I set out basically to bring brand story to my clients. And as a young guy, you'd say, who were those? It was anyone I could find that would let me do that. I'm a connector by heart, and so I had a network that I was building as I moved from Phoenix to Milwaukee, and I was building up some connections. And a small project for a small firm works just fine.
Yeah.
And what I hope to do at that stage was very pure and simple, was to connect brands to an audience with story. Not yet digital strategy and all the research and things, but just with compelling story. And before you knew it, I was in a couple industries that are still pillars for us today, largely the B2B space. And it was manufacturing slash automation, financial, a little bit of medical, some schools and nonprofits. And that really was the pillars that we still build off of today. Back then, there was still a fair amount of print,
Mhm.
and here comes the web and video and all the things. And my agency, while maybe not being bleeding edge, really kept stride with what are the vehicles that we need to get the stories out with.
Mhm.
What brand is the story? What do you stand for? Marketing is how do we invite people to be a part of that brand, and just kept adding layers of services to CI design until we've become the full service agency of 35 people that we are today.
Wow, that's awesome. 35 people. First of all, an agency since the mid 90s. I feel like that's a huge accomplishment because going on 30 plus years now, because agencies usually don't last that long. You know what I mean? You see it all the time. So that's really cool. And now I think I have this idea of what brand is, right? And I think that I would feel that in the mid 90s, it seems like there was this like misconception that maybe brand was only reserved for your really large companies, your Coca-Colas, those types of things. And now we're seeing this shift that brand is really for everybody. Brand is about how people talk to you. And there's a bigger, especially with organic social coming out and all that stuff, there's a bigger focus on it. Would you say the same? That's a big change you've seen?
I see where you're going exactly with that. I think it was as important back then. We just didn't call the small things brand. Probably called it like corporate identity, or it was more of the graphical side of logo and systems, and some of the values, the mission and vision things, probably back in some of those companies that I served back then. We leaned into what is the purpose. But yes, it's become brand in the modern era is all that goes into a sense of belonging for the internal audience. We do a ton of work there. So what actually am I supporting? What's the purpose of this organization, so that you have the true believers actually are your employees inside? And then the consumer, or yeah, in the B2B relationship, still those that you're doing business with want to be aligned with values and the differentiators that you bring. So brand has become such a practice,
Yeah.
so many more layers to story and implementation. We really geek on this stuff, and I talk about adding the layers of services over the years. But we I feel like we've added all that you're pointing to in the question of bringing even more definition and more clarity to those brands. I'll expound 1 second longer that we now really do have a practice. I think a lot of people have their clever 3 steps or 4 steps. I suppose we have one too, but it's really meaningful to us. We come in and audit first. We really need to understand what's been going on, how's brand been delivered, and certainly a competitive place of research to look. We interview in and out of the organization. So that's audit. A piece that might be too long to go into on our podcast, but the next step is just deeply passionate for me, and it's an alignment phase where we invite the leadership to really mine a deep well. What does this brand mean? Oh, that's a little different than what I'm hearing from left to right in the room. This person and that person and the person across the table, they're saying similar things, but not exactly. We workshop to really stir what and then let rise to the top what really is the brand essence. There's some real creative activate ways that we get that the ideas flowing and harness that. And just to quickly round out, then we architect and activate on a messaging plan after we've birthed this a new way of that alignment and what is true. Then
Mm-hmm.
follow through on the steps to implement it. And it's a glorious thing. You can tell probably even in my voice. It's how I was wired. We do all the other services, but this is when I practice in as
Yeah.
creative director of my firm. Something we've done close to 200 times. This particular brand way of delivering brand, and it's just a thrill.
That's awesome. And speaking of the work that you guys do, you describe CI Design as a brand story and strategy shop that blends creativity, imagination, and neuroscience. And I'm curious, how does neuroscience play a role in the way that you develop branding and strategy for your clients?
I'm really glad you asked. And just again, for sake of skimming the top of that, what we are really very much students of the human. Okay. So we've talked about those inside and those outside. The human condition is a thing to study and continue. So how does story attach to any individual? The movie that you might see tonight, the people that you had over for dinner last Saturday, how were you able to engage and understand the story presented to you? And the answer is more and less. It really depends on how it hit you, who was the deliverer. What we've uncovered through studying the human is that words are as good as the frame that the picture holds, that the words come out of image and visual concepts, and then the left side of the brain can make sense of the unique order that the right side, creative side of the brain, the picture side, was able to inform it. I
Mm,
think I'll stay there before I tangle up any more confusing sense of that. But it is whole brain circuitry that
yeah.
we involve in our workshops so that an actual true and meaningful story can come out of it instead of a lot of rhetoric.
Yeah.
It's like when we hear the word innovation, yeah, isn't like just about anything these days is innovation, especially with AI and all
Yeah.
that. So what do you really mean by that? We need to find better vocabularies that are unique to the value prop of this company that hopefully aren't on the next company's reception wall or in their first day orientation of boring matter. How can we really bring to light the essence of a company? And it's only through this full brain activation where a mind will change and it'll stick because we brought something new.
Wow, that's awesome. And I love that you guys, I think agencies like yours have it's an interesting challenge too, because you're trying to define what's undefinable. And I like the way that you're using science and psychology and neuroscience specifically to achieve that. And with that being said, I feel like creative agencies have an interesting challenge often where they're trying to balance artistic vision with business goals. And so how do you ensure that your team remains innovative while also delivering measurable results for your clients?
Oh, that's great. A number of ways to say that of the some hundreds of brands that we've affected. One measurable is that we are able to go back into many of these relationships and say, how's that going? If a brand story is true, it's not that it's not going to evolve, but
Hmm.
somewhere on the seed of that, it would hopefully be something that doesn't have to be reinvented because, hey, it could be stronger. So we know as we go back and extend a lot of our relationships that the work that we do in that alignment process still holds true. Maybe
Hmm.
adding layers to it. The next piece to understand how the impact is working, I think it's two. It's one. It is asking, interviewing of customers or internals, and really getting some primary feedback. And the second certainly is our practice of digital strategy and the programs that we do. And we really are data nerds too. We're polling or engaging in people that way. We build some amazing dashboards so that data is only as good as how useful it is for those that are looking at it. At a high level for the customers that we serve, we might really have a simple dashboard. Here's the engagements, here's the results, here's the type of how engaged are the people. And then for some of our marketing counterparts and strategists on the client side, we might get pretty geeky and really set up for the campaigns some very unique ways to continue to be curious about the responses and behaviors we're seeing with their audiences.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. It seems like there's an emphasis on transparency and reporting, which I really love. And it's cool that you guys are also data nerds. Sometimes you get people who just like the creativity part of it. They don't like the left brain, right brain thing. Jim, it's been awesome learning about your agency and some of the work that you guys do, especially the branding work that you do in some obscure kind of industries like manufacturing and health and all that stuff. Some things that you don't really think about brand in. So that's awesome. Where
Sure.
can people learn more about you and where can people learn more about your agency?
Yeah, I'd love to just send folks to be more curious to the website, CI Design Inc., CIDesigninc.com. Emailing me, I am a connector. I would love to talk to folks who on this topic and others about agency life or the way that programs are set up or just imagination space, right? And you can
Mhm.
email me at jim@cidesigninc.com and mention that maybe you tapped into this podcast. We could pick up where this leaves off today. But no, Shiv, this is really fun. I enjoyed getting to know you a bit before the podcast and look forward to getting to know you more after as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. I look forward to that as well.